gentlemen, a warm applause for His Excellency, the President of Sierra Leone.
Thank you. Let's kindly sit down, please. Madam MC, thank you very much. And I also want to thank you personally for steering this. It has been a very eventful morning. And I see that you have gathered a lot of knowledge on tax. And Mr. Minister of Finance, I think the MC could be a perfect nominee for a board membership in the NRA. So you have a fine board member here to nominate to His Excellency the President. Honorable Ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Madam Chair, first, let me on behalf of His Excellency the President, the government and the people of Sierra Leone welcome all of you to Sierra Leone, particularly to Freetown. First, let me on a personal note thank our Commissioner General of NRA for inviting me to make a statement at the 7th High-Level Policy Dialogue of West African Tax Administration Forum. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Sierra Leone is deeply honored, I must say, to host this very important meeting of tax administrators, policymakers, and international stakeholders. This policy dialogue, no doubt, underscores our collective determination to enhance domestic resource mobilization, particularly against the backdrop of a very challenging global political economy. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me run through some of the multiple crises that continue to plague low-income countries in the last couple of years. First, COVID-19. You realize that during that period, a lot of our economies, particularly small economies like ours, suffered tremendously. When we were about to prepare ourselves for a post-COVID recovery, then the Ukrainian and Russian crisis came. High energy cost and then increased global transportation cost. Secondly, today you will agree with me, but most of you who had the opportunity to attend the Seville conference in Spain, where I had the honor to represent His Excellency the President, discussions were centered around increasing debt burden, which means most of the resources we make today as small economies, we use them to service our debt. That is in itself is a crisis for low-income countries. Equally so, most of the speakers before me, including our chair of WATAF, made mention of the decreasing overseas development assistance. And that decline is not only reducing the window for multilateral organizations to continue to support small economies like West African economies, but equally sending a very strong message to West Africa. This, ladies and gentlemen, has got significant financial implications for developing countries like ours, and more importantly, the growing security and instability challenges in the Sahel. All of these are putting a lot of stress on the West African economies. So make no mistake that is why today, for example, the estimated financing gap to meet the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals target is about $4 trillion per year. And when you put that together and you see the enormous challenges we are facing to raise money, to raise resources, both domestically and also with international financial institutions, tells you that there is no better time than today for low-income countries, for West African countries, to shift their priorities to domestic revenue mobilization. The implications are clear. There is no better timing for this conference and for this workshop and dialogue than now, particularly to provide a space and opportunity for us to think about innovative ways to finance our own development. We have to take bold actions to build strong revenue base. This explains the immense importance of this event, of this conference. I'm particularly very, very happy that the theme of the conference, financing development through effective tax system, is apt. This theme aligns squarely and to a large extent with our vision to strengthen our fiscal framework. This involves enhancing both traditional means of mobilizing resources, such as improving the tax system, and equally so, broadening the tax base. Our government is committed to pursue an efficient, transparent, and equitable tax system to boost national revenue. By prioritizing tax efficiency, we are supporting government efforts to build a very strong revenue capacity. And I'm particularly pleased that at least the MC remembered part of my speech that I delivered a couple of days ago, where I drew a strong correlation between revenue capacity and state capacity. If you don't have a very strong revenue capacity, there is no doubt state capacity to deliver development is equally going to be very low. But if you have a strong revenue capacity, make no mistake, that state is going to develop a very strong capacity to deliver services. In addition to our domestic effort, Sierra Leone is also very active at the international stage, defending our interest in the global tax matters. In that regard, I must say here that Sierra Leone supports the commitment to raise tax to GDP ratio to at least 15%. This in itself, if you calculate it well, triples international lending. Through our collaboration with WATAF and other international partners, we are seeking to shape tax policies that protect our economic interests while at the same time foster regional and international collaboration. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this stage, let me take the opportunity to share with you some perspective regarding how we are going to support domestic revenue efforts. The prevailing international environment is no doubt a reminder that we have to improve domestic resources. Strong revenues, like I've just said, equals strong capacity. There's an urgent need to strengthen and expand the revenue base. Already, speakers before me have made reference to the need to prioritize digitalization of tax administration. This will help us to a large extent to increase compliance and reduce leakages. Also, we need to work to expand the tax base because we have to avoid the risk of excessive taxation. And when you tax too much, you weaken the base. So the idea is to expand the base and to reduce leakages and improve the governance of tax administration. Also, we need to enhance the role of legal processes to enforce sanctions. In a country where there are no sanction regime, there is no motivation for people to stop evading taxation. So in Sierra Leone, we are going to enhance the role of the tax court so that legal processes are very robust in the sense that to enforce compliance. Equally so, government should also make effort to improve the macroeconomic environment. You can only tax, you can only develop revenue in a country where there are efforts to improve the ease of doing business, making your country competitive to attract foreign direct investment, the more you expand the investment space, the more you provide opportunity for private sector, the more you are going to increase the tax base. So they go in line, which means West African countries should work very strongly to build a solid ecosystem that is favorable to revenue generation, particularly both providing and making sure that accountability is the cornerstone and effective governance. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on this note, let me conclude first by thanking the West Africa Tax Administration platform for this collective effort. I was telling the chair lady this morning that I came to learn about this institution not too long ago, and I've been reading what they have been doing, and I realized a forum of this nature is very, very important. For any other time, this time around, wherein there's a strong message that low-income countries have to look inward. We have to look inward to generate the resources that we need to finance our own development. So if this institution has relevance, this is the time that we have to take it very seriously. And I want to assure the chairperson of this institution and the executive secretary that Sierra Leone is going to support this institution. Always. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this institution also provides an opportunity to exchange ideas. Like our brother from Gambia just said, our brother from Liberia also emphasized that. This forum provides that opportunity for experience sharing. What works well, what is working well in Liberia can be imported to Sierra Leone. What is working well in the Gambia can be shared in Sierra Leone. And what is working well in Sierra Leone can be exported to our sister country. I think there is no better time, like I said, for this institution to work, to continue to work, and to make sure that that platform stands the test of time than now. I give you an example. If you take, we've been talking about domestic revenue. Our brother from Liberia was praised for a $1 billion revenue collection. When you take a country like Senegal, the revenue to GDP ratio was 20.1% in 2022. And in Sierra Leone, we are still less than 10%. So which means we have to share knowledge, we have to take comparative lessons, and also use those comparative lessons to increase domestic revenue to GDP ratio. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I cannot overemphasize the importance of this forum. I cannot overemphasize the timing of this policy dialogue, but I want you to know that Sierra Leone stands in solidarity with this institution, and I also want to assure you that in the next coming years, this institution, we are also going to make sure in every international platform we are, and every international regional organization where Sierra Leone is, we are going to promote the work of this platform. Because this is a platform that we need to use. On that note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me, on behalf of His Excellency the President, the government, and the people of Sierra Leone, thank you very much for giving us the honor to be here. And I can only at this stage wish you a successful deliberation as I take this opportunity to formally declare this forum open. Thank you very much.